kuwalazimisha tusonge upande huu. Wale ambao mko nyuma yetu, tafadhali upande huu. May God bless you for understanding. Basi kwa wakati huu ningemuomba mwenyekiti wa chama cha Wiper Democratic Movement aje hapa ili aweze kutukaribisha kwenye ukumbi huu. Tafadhali mwenyekiti.
Your Excellency, the party leader, Dr. Stephen Kalonzo Musyoka, Honorable Senator Gideon Moi, distinguished members of Wiper, distinguished guests, ladies and gentlemen, it is my greatest honor and privilege to welcome you to the Wiper Command Center, and in my capacity as the chairman, I declare this congregation officially constituted to continue the business.
Check.
Ladies and gentlemen, I now, with humility, respect to our party leader, that I invite him to come over to continue the proceedings of the day, Your Excellency.
Wapi makofi mazuri ya party leader? Wiper! Aisikiki jamani, Wiper! Karibu Your Excellency.
Tafadhalini tuketi. My brother Gideon Moi, Senator Baringo and Chair of KANU, our party chair, Madam Agatha Solitei, National Director of National Elections Board, and the Elections Board here, I can see your team is here, Uma Matemu and others, your Vice Chair, Waheshimiwa wabunge, mabibi na mabwana, our media, welcome to SKM Command Center. I think by now this place is not new to all of us. Today, I want to be very brief. I know the country is almost at a standstill, with a lot of expectation, a lot of anxiety, and I want to ask all of us to please relax. Please relax. It will be recalled by many Kenyans that, I forget the date, but it was the famous Jacaranda grounds in Embakasi East, when I declared that I was willing, ready and able to say my brother Raila Odinga Tosha for a third time. But since that time, a lot of things have happened that have tended to negate that very spirit. Recently I went on a tour of Mombasa through Makueni and Taita Taveta counties and a bit of Kwale, received in Mombasa by very enthusiastic Kenyans who are telling me, we will not allow you to go and do that interview. And they gave their reasons. Having deputized my brother Raila twice, was even President Kibaki's vice president, they thought we had the credentials. And so at the end of it all, I presented myself, much to the consternation of so many of them who felt I shouldn't have. But those Kenyans who know my very clear stand on humility and values and servant leadership, I felt I didn't want to give the impression that I was arrogant, that I was proud. I didn't want to appear before eminent personalities like Bishop Mjenga, Bishop Zacchaeus Okoth, and others. And I took the decision then to go. In fact, immediately after I finished that conversation, just strictly not an interview, I left for an assignment in Juba, South Sudan. And when I was there, I tried to follow what's going on. That this matter of who will be Raila's running mate will actually be resolved by Raila himself, myself, possibly Moi has been a very key member of the council established under the Azimio Alliance. And the council chair has been President Uhuru Kenyatta. So I want Kenyans to know we've been in full consultations, that although the eminent persons have done their work, the final decision has actually been taken by the candidate himself, the Honorable Raila Odinga, his own decision, which I respect. And I wish him and his running mate, our sister Mother Karua, well. But I also made it very clear that if I know my country, if I know our country well, that decision will meet with overwhelming opposition. And therefore, we have agreed to go our separate ways and compare notes as we move. I'm talking to you as my brother Gideon is here, and I know that some people have been saying Gideon was sent to rope Kalonzo in, but remember Gideon, when we had CJ, we used to call him Mr. Ropeman. He was supposed to rope. And I spoke this morning to Honorable David Ocheng, who is in the United States. Must have been very early for him, and he's fully with us in these things. So, in order to go our separate ways, the options are obvious, that we need to revisit the matter of the coalition under the Political Parties Amendment Act. And my honest opinion, and this is what I'm going to follow through after this, is OCA continues as originally established, Azimio continues as established, originally established, and we move on. We move on. Compare notes. We have a business here to save this land, to rid this land of corruption, to rid this country of negative energy, hatred, and our manifesto, Wiper Democratic Movement. You have snippets of the same 24-hour economy. When I was in Mombasa, I reminded everybody, hey, listen, don't worry about standard gauge railway. It's an important piece of infrastructure. Never mind the exorbitant cost or whatever others may think. But look at the bigger picture. Declare Mombasa and Lamu free ports and see what happens. What happens, and work 24 hours. Therefore, we need to reset our minds as Kenyans. I will be talking. In fact, I had convinced our political team, call them politicos, when we've been consulting on some of these issues. I said this week, I am going to be mute. But it became necessary because of the outcome of these consultations that I have to speak. Soon after this, I want to go mute for another 1 week to reflect and to think, because these are weighty matters. And I know people, the ordinary folks who rush out there, do their blogging, very good, paid to blog, call us names, do whatever they want to say, but we will remain very firm, very, very firm. Because I think the majority of Kenyans want an alternative between Kenya Kwisha and Azimio. That's now the fact. Kwa hivyo, hakika tutaweza. OCA, hakika tutaweza. And I'm saying what I'm just said here is in absolute good faith. In fact, the terms of engagement under this Grand Coalition agreement is based on utmost good faith. And where there is no good faith, then you can't do business. And some of us have suffered the consequences of bad faith for far too long. I mean, for how long do people expect one Stephen Kalonzo Musyoka to be the one always to sacrifice? Always to sacrifice. And then after sacrificing, they mess up the country. We will not allow this to continue. So we are said, Amka Mama, God bless you. Amka. You know, we are a party that, as Wiper Democratic Movement, that believes in gender parity, 50-50%. 50% women, 50% men in government. And that we remain committed to. Therefore, I must thank our elections board because, and I think the chair herself will say that, look at the history that we have walked since Kasarani, when, in my view, we had probably one, if not the best, organized National Delegates Congress. I see a governor candidate for Tharaka Nithi, Nyamu Kagwema, agreeing, because I think he joined from that point. And so the mandate was given to me to run for president, to negotiate with others. And when it became, and remember Kenyans, I said, this time I will negotiate for myself, because we have suffered injustice in the past. And I'm happy to say the results of those consultations are what I've told you. And we have agreed as brothers and as sisters in the interest of this country to go a separate way. And we will then, it is never too late to come back. It is never country. And therefore I want on my part to thank my brother President Uhuru Kenyatta, who has remained constant in this struggle of having to agree on who is a running mate. In fact, Kenyans had assumed at Jacaranda, when I said Raila tosha mara ya tatu, I remember Brother Gideon, we meeting at the people did not expect there would be a contest and then a dragging through the mud of one who has selflessly said this country is more important than all of us. Now I'm saying Kenya is important, yes, but those citizens living within our boundaries have a duty and responsibility to each other. Doing what a betraying becomes, and you remember I've talked about politics of deceit. I don't want to continue. Today we called you because consequent upon those consultations, my brother Raila knows I'm naming my running mate. In fact, from Mombasa he came home to try to convince me to accept his choice of our sister mother Karua. We did not agree, and I said, let's sleep over it. We slept over it, and last night we are at it. We did not again agree, so this is why we agreed that you will name mother and I will name my running mate today as within. So ignore the interviews and whatever. The whole issue was Raila and me and my brothers, President Uhuru and my brother Gideon Moi. So, it so happens that my name, as we speak, is before the Independent Electoral and Boundaries Commission as a presidential candidate for Wiper Democratic Movement. And that is a legal position. I know some people have expressed doubts about what can happen. To be honest with you, I'll be very frank and open. If Oka had not been messed up under this legal situation, I would have convinced my brother Gideon to be my running mate. I can tell you that. I still may have to. I said, the way forward is open. Very open. And I'm going to lead in bringing this country together. Some people have very mistakenly argued, oh, now this is taking us back to 2007. If you are that type of a Kenyan, allow me to say, shame on you. With a lot of respect. And you want this country to go back to post-election violence of 2007? Why don't you, even if you want to be tempted to think that way, why don't you give me credit that I actually brought order to the country and stop the killing? And stop the killing. And ask yourself whether there was any killing at the strongholds of ODM Kenya as we then were before it became Wiper Democratic Movement. We saved literally this country. I'm quite sure we'll not go that way again because you'll be winning this time. This time we're winning. This party has grown in leaps and bounds. As I speak to you, we have a candidature of about 106 members of parliament from across the country, from Moyale to Lungalunga, and from Dadaab to Kishi. This is a national movement. If, as I speak to you, we are the third largest political party during the 12th, my prayer and hope is that we are going to be either number 1 or number 2. We'll compete with our friends in Kano and others. So, what the decision I'm about to take are to take into account the future of these candidates. 22 senatorial candidates, 11 governors, over nearly 400 MCAs. If I just wound up and said, kwaheri ya konana, I devalue the ticket that you have been given. And worse still, by devaluing the same, others will take advantage and move into the party's strongholds and make you look funny. I'm there to make sure you remain solid and dignified. I think that was some very brief remarks so that Kenyans know. That's why I say relax. There's no hostility here. This is brotherly contest and others. But as we move on, we'll keep reviewing our position. But if I live in this country, if people are saying strength of Mount Kenya region, Lower Eastern, I don't know which other part, they are going to be shocked. I am from the mountain on the eastern side. Actually, neighbor to Professor Kithure Kindiki, whom I've mentored, a wonderful young Kenyan, Professor Kindiki. I actually appointed him secretary to Ministry of Constitutional Affairs, where our founding Secretary General, the late Mutula Kalonzo Jr. Mutula and Kindiki worked very closely together. And so, he did his best. I wish him well. Unite this country is our business. We're going to unite. So, if the other side, Kwanza or something, had given it to Professor Kithure, they would have given it to me, because we're just divided by River Tana. And so when I say I'm from the eastern side of the mountain, they'll be shocked if I beat them completely in the mountain. Some of them said, I said I'm a Kikuyu, I'm going to say I'm Luo or something. But the truth of the matter is understand every Kikuyu word you speak. And it is not because I landed, but because it is the way it is. You pick it. The same kind of conversation. So I do not bore you. Allow me then to now give you my nomination as my running mate during the August 2022, August 9 election. I am pleased to introduce my brother Andrew Letepa Sunkuli. But who is Andrew Letepa Sunkuli? You may wish to ask me. You congratulate him later. I'm not through with him. I'm not through with him yet. Andrew is a 59-year-old native of Narok County with a zest for life and community service. His life and career is underpinned by desire to transform the lives of ordinary people. As a grassroots community leader, he has a conviction that through education and empowerment, any individual household can rise to their full potential regardless of where they start their lives from. And please accept that he's a member of the Mark community, one community that have been marginalized from the colonial times up to now. The business center, because it is their land. What is academic history reads as follows. From May 1985 to May 1988, now I actually read in the first person singular. I undertook my undergraduate studies at Kenyatta University in Nairobi, where I graduated with a bachelor's degree in education with majors took me on a journey through psychology, statistics, history of education, a broad variety of literary genius and regional literatures, the history, structure and usage of the English language, as well as the practical skills of teaching and classroom delivery. He's an accomplished teacher. Give him a clap for it. In February 1982, November to November 83, Kenya for my advanced level high school education, where I majored in English, Divinity, and Kiswahili, which is a language spoken by 200 million people in Eastern Africa. And I graduated with top scores. I wished it was me, but it's in the first person singular. January 78 to November 81, I attended Kilgoris Secondary School in Kenya, where I completed my certificate of secondary education with a Division 1 score and emerging the top student that year in the entire province. In 1988 to December 88, I was employed by the National Teacher Service Commission and posted to a prestigious high school known as Kabarak High School, where I had a short stint as a teacher of literature and English language. I actually interrogated him, Brother Giddy, on this matter under a tree. I asked him to, as a literature student myself, and I remember some of the set pieces. I gave him one of the soliloquies in the Shakespearean tragedies, and it started like this. One of those serious soliloquies. It says, time is out of joint, oh cursed spite, that I was born to set it right. He goes on to say, you know, now I imagine if you're in Kenya today, wouldn't you think that time, like Shakespeare would have said, is out of joint, oh cursed spite. And then I wanted to say, because he was considering committing suicide, whether it is more honorable in the heart to suffer the slings of outrageous fortune, or to take arms against a sea of troubles, and by opposing, end them. I asked him, which of the Shakespearean tragedies was that? He had to Google a little bit. He ended up with Hamlet. He's an accomplished literature teacher. And that is what actually gave me myself the necessary backing to study law at the University of Nairobi. So I find a lot in common. And that is, gentlemen, I don't want to bore you with a lot of these things about him. January 74, Director, Chairman, and Chief of a number of companies and organizations as follows. I founded and led the East African Leadership Center as Executive Chairman. Center was established to provide leadership training to middle-level managers of private, for-profit, not-for-profit organizations. With a staff of 30, we had a throughput of 600 individuals in those 9 years. My responsibilities included providing team leadership, ensuring the center stuck to its vision and core mandate, and overseeing all the key business processes. The East Africa Leadership Center was later sold to other investors. As the ELC was a small outfit, his salary stayed between $1,500 to $2,000 per month. Now, this tells you he knows how to begin humble. And my brother, should you become the President of the Republic, do not look at exhaustive numbers compared to this. And if you find you're earning so much, and of course the thing I'll tell you as your leader is you will never steal, because stealing will militate against all that what you try to do in trying to set up those qualities. January 2001 to 2003, while I was executive chairman of the East Africa Leadership Center, he served as a board director for Kenya Ports Authority, that is KPA, having been appointed to that position by the President of the Republic at the advice of the Minister in charge of Sports and National Transportation. The KPA Authority is a large public sector organization with 7,000 employees and a fairly profitable record. As director, he chaired 2 subcommittees of the board, namely Procurement and Human Resources, and as chair of HR subcommittee, he led efforts to eliminate an actual deficit of over 100 million shillings, or dollars, I beg your pardon, which had nearly crippled the staff pension fund. He left the board voluntarily due to pressure of new assignments. And 2003 to 2006, he was chief executive officer and principal owner of Rapas Publishing, a company a friend and I established to help the government of Rwanda to publish school books under a new post-genocide curriculum. Post-genocide, sounds very good. And using part of the staff of 50 teachers, we wrote and published from scratch textbooks for the entire primary school system. It was a tough feat considering the residual ethnic passions of the early post-genocide period. On the other side, he provided consultancy services to the New Times of Rwanda, which then was a weekly newspaper and the only English newspaper language paper in Rwanda. We helped turn it into a daily, and it's still the must-read newspaper in that country today. When he completed the Rwanda assignment, he created at least 10 editors in a country which had no book publishing industry and handed over the local business there to the nationals. Now, gentlemen, an accomplished publisher. So, political work, I came from a fairly political family, and so I'm never too far from political action. His other brother, you may remember, is Julius Nkuli, who is running as Member of Parliament for Kilgoris on Kano ticket. He's been involved in many political campaigns on behalf of the candidates at all levels of the electoral chain. In 2007, he played a key role in creating and implementing a communication strategy for the Kibaki Tena campaign. Kumbe, you are not even with us. Okay. Okay. And then in 2013, he ran for the seat of Narok Senator as an independent candidate, where he became a very strong second. Actually, he won. And I know the people who stole from him. That's why he earned the title. He earned the title Senator Bila Deni. Ana Deni amtu yoyote. And then in 2017, he did not contest, but instead played a key role in the presidential campaign for the Jubilee candidate. Again, he was against us. Currently, he's a candidate for the Narok senatorship on a Wiper Democratic Movement ticket, from whence we have convinced, we have actually managed to convince him to elect. I'm sure they are not short of senator candidates. Unfortunately, we will not have one on Wiper, but I think if what I'm hearing serves me right, the leakage in Narok is already causing a lot of excitement. He believes that he has a strong community mobilization skills that will come in handy at both the local and the national levels. So, who am I professionally? he asked that question of himself. I consider myself to be 1, a teacher, 2, a publisher, 3, a writer, 4, community worker, 5, businessman, and 6, a politician. He has authored or co-authored the following titles. Number 1, a dictionary of oral literature. Number 2, a guide to betrayal in the city. I would like to read that again. Number 3, a guide to things fall apart. That's by Chinua Achebe. Number 4, sing me a song. Poems for primary schools. Number 5, the hero and the dream. A short story. Number 6, stories and poems in anthropologies. 7, many articles in newspapers. He's a family man and a devoted Christian. Devoted family man, devoted Christian with a wife and children. He likes extracurricular activities and interests. When he's not working, this is international travel. If he was a member of the 12th Parliament, he'd probably be arriving from Dubai, traveling. So, this information given this resume is correct to the best of my knowledge and recollection. Let's give Mheshimiwa Andrew Letaipa Sunkuli a very big hand. So I'm very pleased, my friends, fellow Kenyans, to commend Andrew Letaipa Sunkuli as my running mate. And I now hand over the rest of the program to Madam Agatha Solitei, Mumo Matemu, and the rest of the team to do the needful. We have a deadline which is supposed to be up to midnight, but I think we're in time. And thank you others for finding the time at very short notice. From here, we are hitting the ground running. Thank you.
Thank you.
Yes. Yeah, I think that's the point. Before the technical teams comes in, Andrew, you may want to say a few things. You might even decline. Might even decline after what we have said. When he came in this morning, he said, "I've never been waited for this long." By the way, I can also tell you, he's a communicator. He can speak fluent Kalenjin, fluent Maasai, fluent those you tell us.
Asante sana. Asante sana. Your Excellency, the 5th President of the Republic of Kenya, Dr. Stephen Kalonzo Musyoka, the Chairman of KANU, Mheshimiwa Gideon Moi, distinguished leadership, ladies and gentlemen, good afternoon. Two things I should say first. When he mentioned that I did not indicate whether I was Rudisha, Rudisha is my nephew. And I'm the one who hosted the party when you gave him the boon. The last time I was here, ladies and gentlemen, was a month ago to receive my certificate of nomination for the seat of senator. And so even before I say what I'm going to say, this is already promising to be a weird election season. Because when the party leader made the phone call to me to ask me to come to his home, I was in Narok campaigning for myself, and on his instructions, campaigning for Raila Odinga. This is a weird election season. It is also a Davidian moment. A Davidian moment in the sense that, as in the days of Jesse, a young, not so young in my case, herds boy, looking after his cows and sheep, gets called and summoned, and as every herds boy knows, obedience is the first attribute of being a good. And so I come, not knowing the message. And now I'm here, standing in front. So as a student of William Shakespeare, like His Excellency has said, to his house and he said, you know what? You are going to be my running mate. I thought we are going to be jogging together. because I normally have running mates in the morning when I do my 5 o'clock jog. So I was happy that I was going to be running with my party leader. But as it became clear to me what running mate meant in this context, what came through my mind was Antony and Cleopatra. To be or not to be. And so, Your Excellency, I have come here today to answer that immortal question that was posed by Shakespeare in Antony and Cleopatra. And my answer is yes, it is to be. And with all humility, therefore, I accept the nomination to be the running mate of the presidential candidate of the Wiper Democratic Movement. You know, there were so many ways we could have arrived here, Your Excellency. One, you could have called me to the Serena for an interview. I would probably have hesitated and then one Wednesday morning agreed to come. But you chose the method that Jesus used when he appointed his 12 disciples. He just said, come, follow me. I dropped everything. In my case, I was not fishing because I don't fish. But I left my livestock unattended to. I left my constituency for the Senate seat unattended to. I have not made any formal announcement to my campaign team that I am here, but I am here and I have heeded the call. But look at what people did who didn't have to go to Serena for an interview. Look at what the 12 disciples did. They not only established Christendom, they changed the world forever. Amen. So it is possible to change the world without an interview. Your Excellency, the last time a Maasai stood to accept the deputy national leadership of the country was 1966, when Joseph Morombi was called upon by Jomo Kenyatta. And Joseph Morombi, by the way, came from Kilgoris like I do. So 56 years later, another call comes. That's how long it takes for a minority to hear a call. And so I am privileged that, because I asked myself, what the heck? What is it that Dr. Kalonzo Musyoka, who happens to be a friend of mine, actually, off the record, my wife is a friend of Mama Pauline, having worked together at the central bank. So these are people I know. But then, I've had cups of tea with him, but totally different cups of tea to the cup of tea I had 2 days ago. And so I'm humbled on my own behalf and on behalf of my family and my community that this call has come at all. Your Excellency, this country is getting used to majoritarian tyranny. And it is an uncomfortable thing to get used to. Because if all that we are ever going to chase are quantities in numbers, when shall quality ever find its place? It's in history. History has shown that herdsmen and shepherds have the longest endurance. They have provided leadership in the most difficult of times. But because of the method of of Western democracy, where numbers are tallied on paper, and only people with numbers shall see the light of day, it is the most courageous thing you have ever done in your life to appoint a pastoralist with not the kind of numbers that people talk about to be your deputy. But I shall concur with the English people when they say, fortune favors the brave. And that bravery shall pay back upon you. Your Excellency, your manifesto shall be my manifesto, and your party shall be my party. And because this is not the day to delve into my heart, let alone my mind, because I do these things all the time when I write books, let me say, without equivocation, that on behalf, for the sake of my people of Narok, on behalf of the Maasai people wherever they are in Kenya and East Africa, on behalf of all pastoralists, on behalf of all marginalized communities seeking inclusivity in a majoritarian environment, I accept this nomination on their behalf. And if Wiper had never wiped anything else in its life, it's going to wipe the pastoralists. Take it from me. So, Your Excellency, the journey has begun. And the journey of 1,000 miles starts but with one step. And so it starts here, it starts today. And I concur with you that we did not come here to bury Caesar. We are saying that we are a party of inclusivity, we are a party of unity, we are a party of kazi bila wizi. And we, having brought me to the national table, the table of national conversation, this is irreversible, you know. Sitting, the pastoralists have found their way to the table of national conversation via Wiper. But having said that, as one of your key advisors in this journey that is definitely going to be tortuous, probably treacherous, I will at all times advocate that the nation must always dialogue with itself. And at no point should acrimony and the quest for office be to the detriment of the peace of this country. And it's not because we don't know how to draw swords. It's because we draw swords to our enemies, not to our own people. And every Kenyan is our people. So, Your Excellency, we shall speak another day. Today, I came to accept this nomination and to say thank you very much, and thank you, Wiper, for receiving me in this house. And I promise to be an asset to this party.
Asante. Makofi sana. Nikisema enda Suba Bogin, unasema Suba. Enda Suba Bogin. Enda Suba Bogin. Asante, tuketi. Naomba wakati huu niweze kualika our Wiper National Election Board, Madam Agatha Solitei, together with your team, kindly njooni hapa mbele.
Your Excellency, Dr. Stephen Kalonzo Musyoka, I request you to please come up and stand here. This is the only time I can summon him, so I better enjoy the moment. So my name is Agatha Solitei, and I'm the chairperson of the National Elections Board. On my left here, I have the National Elections Board of the Wiper Democratic Movement, which I would like to introduce. To my left, the first person here is Mumo Matemo, who you all know is a renowned advocate of the High Court, in addition to very many other high-profile positions which he has been in. Next is Lawrence Kibara, who is a member of the board. That short person there from Kisii is called Professor Thomas Ombati, who is the secretary of the board. And in Wiper Democratic Movement, we are gender sensitive. So next there is Rose Mwema, who is a member of the board. And last but not least is Abdulaziz Kakuria, all the way from Kwale. So, ladies and gentlemen, I present the Wiper Democratic Movement National Elections Board. And we are here to do a very, very important task today. I think this is the most important one we have had to do this season. And without going talking after Andrew, who is so eloquent, I better get to what we are supposed to do. So, by the powers conferred on me, by the nomination rules of the Wiper Democratic Movement, I, Agatha Solitei, hereby declare the nomination of His Excellency Dr. Stephen Kalonzo Musyoka as the presidential candidate for the Wiper Democratic Movement for the August 9th general elections.
Wapi makofi mazuri jamani. Asante DJ.
I also request Andrew to please come forward and stand next to His Excellency. Shakespeare is not here. So I also declare the nomination of Honorable Andrew Leteipa Sunkuli as the running mate of His Excellency Kalonzo Musyoka and the deputy presidential candidate of the Wiper Democratic Movement.
Makofi mazuri. mazuri tena. DJ, ikiwa wamesimama hivyo, ningeomba party leader na running mate washike the certificates pamoja na chair Madam Agatha Solitei. Tuwapigie makofi jamani tukifanya hivyo. Bidali tuketi dakika mbili. Naomba the clergy waje hapa mbele. The clergy, the bishops. Naomba clergy waje. Kwa wakati huu tungependa the bishop of the clergy waweze kuwaombea our presidential and running mate His Excellency Stephen Kalonzo Musyoka na Mheshimiwa His Excellency Andrew Leteipa Sunkuli. Naomba tafadhali wakati ni wenyu.
Bwana Yesu asifiwe. Basi naomba tusimame. Naomba tusimame, na kabla tuombe nataka niseme neno moja. Ya kwamba leo maombi ya kanisa wakati kumetangazwa na His Excellency akatangaza, tumepata hata wachungaji wengine wakiwa Bomet wakatutumia ujumbe wakatuambia this is the day that the church has won. And we are here to declare victory. Wale wengine wameita watu wengi, lakini hapa kanisa limeitwa. Na mimi kama kiongozi wa kanisa nchi ya Kenya, tukitoka hapa usiku wa leo, kila county ni kuwaambia maombi ile tulikuwa tunangojea yote imejibiwa. Situpigeni Yesu makofi mazuri. Basi we want to pray for the 5th and the deputy president watano. So tunaomba msonge mbele as I welcome Apostle Anderson to pray.
Tufunge macho tuombe. Baba, katika jina la Yesu, jina ambalo liko juu ya majina yote, na ukasema kwa hilo jina kila goti litapigwa na kila ulimi utakiri wewe ni Bwana kwa utukufu wa jina lako. Tunauleta watumishi wako mbele zako Jehova. Tumekuwa tukiomba kama clergy, kama kanisa, na ukatuambia Daudi wetu ako mbali malishoni, lakini wakati umefika amepatikana. Sasa Bwana, kama inji nzima na kanisa, tunainua Bwana waheshimiwa na excellence wetu Stephen Kalonzo Musyoka pamoja na deputy wake Andrew mikononi mwako. Bwana, tunaomba Bwana, safari hii inapoanza siku ya leo, mchanga wa Kenya ukawakubali, maeneo yote ikawakubali, kaunti zote 47 zikawakubali. Bwana wa majeshi, pamoja na aspirant wao Jehova, ninawaombea neema yako, mafuta uliotupaka achilia sasa sasa katika jina la Yesu. Tunawatuma sasa Jehova, ili kulete umoja. Tumeibiwa katika nchi hii, tumefanyiwa kila jambo mbaya, lakini Mungu umetuinulia anayekupendeza moyoni. Sasa Baba, naomba Mungu neema yako ipate kuwa pamoja na wao. Wapate kibali nchi yote, wapate kibali kwa makabila yote, wapate kibali katika maeneo yote, wapate kibali kwa kila mtu katika wanaoenda kwa waganga, wanaoenda kwa wachawi, wanaoenda kwa mapepo. Tunakataa sasa, nguvu zao zikashindwe. Wanaotembea kwa nguvu za anga, tunastimentisha kila maroho katika jina la Yesu. Na sasa Mungu, watumishi wako hawatumii uganga, wanatumia jina lako. Neema yako Mungu ikawabebe. Beba ma senators, beba ma governors, beba Bwana ma MPs, ma MCS, ma women rep. Bwana, naomba Bwana ukawabebe, na utukufu na sifa zitakuwa zako. Tunaomba hayo tukiamini umesikia, kwa jina la Baba, la Mwana na Roho Mtakatifu tunaomba na kuamini.
Jameni, pigeni Yesu makofi mazuri. Nataka tukusikia shangwe na vigelegele. Nataka kusikia shangwe na vigelegele za ushindi. In Jesus name. Na wale viongozi wote ambao mumesimama nyuma ya Kalonzo Musyoka mkiitisha viti, atakaye taka kushindana na nyinyi anguke. Tumetuma.
Asante. Naomba tafadhali kwa heshima tuketi. Your Excellency Sir, nimemuona Wiper Democratic Movement Secretary General Mheshimiwa Honorable Madam Shakila Abdalla. Tafadhali kwa unyenyekevu naomba uje hapa upeane remarks za kwako.
Wiper! Tuko ngangari. Your Excellency, I congratulate you for the bold step you have taken. And I congratulate all the Wiper members. Mimi leo hapa nina furaha sana. Nina furaha nyingi kwa kuamua kama Wiper tunaenda mpaka debe. Tulikuwa hii ndio kitu tunaitarajia. Na mimi nataka kuzungumza na Wakenya. Wakenya, hii ndio njia ya kuenda. Sisi tulienda tukaungana na Azimio tukiwa na nia nzuri. Lakini kumbe wenzetu walikuwa wamejipanga wachukue serikali, wenzao wafuate kama kondoo, wagawanye watu wawili. Wagawanye watu wawili, Uhuru Kenyatta na Raila Odinga. Na watahadharisha wale wengine ambao ni vyama 26 vilivyo ndani ya Azimio, wataenda kulia choni. Sisi tunalia kwa barabara. Wataenda kulia choni, tunawaambia hapa. Wale watu wa Azimio wana mpango mbaya sana na nchi. Lakini sisi tunasema tunasonga mbele, haturudi nyuma, kwa sababu tunajua hii nchi inatuhitaji na sisi tunaihitaji. Kwa hivyo wananchi wa Kenya, tafadhalini tunawaomba kwa unyenyekevu, the third force is on the course. Kwa hivyo tufuate Wiper na tuende tukaunde serikali. Wananchi wa Kenya, tunawaomba tena kwa unyenyekevu, na tutageuka, tutazunguka hii nchi yote na tutaongea aibu zao zote. Tunazijua na nia yao tunaijua, na tutapambana mundu kwa mundu. Asanteni sana. Mimi sina mengi leo, ni kionjo tu, lakini tutakutana viwanjani. Wanaume tuko kangari, hata sisi wasifikirie tumelala ama tumechoka. Tuko ngangari, tuliwabembeleza, tukaenda nao pole pole, tulikuwa tunataka kuwakomesha uongo wao na unafiki wao, na tumewakomesha, wamefika mwisho. Kwa hivyo sasa mimi nina furaha sana kama Wiper, tunaenda kivyetu, na hiyo excellency, usife moyo. Usife moyo, tuko pamoja, tuko na wewe mpaka mwisho. Tuko ngangari. Na nchi hii ya Kenya kuna watu wengi sahi wanalia, hawataki huko, hawataki huko. Huku moto, huku moto. Katikati ni upepo wa Wiper. Tutapita sisi.
Asante.
Asanteni sana.
Naomba tafadhali tusimame zote.
Tusimame, nani atuombee tufunge mkutano.
Tunaomba tuwe na wimbo wa taifa, Madam Secretary General.
Nakushukuru sana Mheshimiwa Gideon kusimama na ndugu yako ngangari mpaka mwisho. Thank you very much. Thank you very much Mheshimiwa Gideon. Tuko na wewe sisi.
DJ.
Salimia Gideon, kuja usalimie.
DJ tupatie wimbo wa taifa. Wimbo wa taifa.